This might be the most honest episode I've ever recorded because I'm talking about how our revenue is down, but our profit is up. And 75% of that was actually on purpose. We've made big changes this year. We've had fewer launches, simplified systems, and more time for real life because right now, time is the most valuable asset. So between middle school, chaos, getting older, and the changing economy, I needed a business that could scale without taking over my life. Inside this episode, I'm sharing real numbers, the mindset shifts, and the systems behind how we're scaling smarter, not harder. And if you're in the season of change too, this is your permission slip to slow down and still succeed. Hello there. Welcome back to the Crush the Rush podcast. And I'm just going to start this episode out really real and raw because I mentioned that our goal of this podcast is to get really, really specific about what's working and what's not working, because I feel like that's the most helpful as a business owner. However, if you're listening to this podcast like live, as in October 2025, and you're watching our YouTube video, I'm recording this with some sort of like pink eye situation. You know, you plan the best that you can plan, but today was the day that we needed to get the podcast done, and I feel fine. I just look like on my right eye, I've been like maybe punched in the face. So just a reminder that it doesn't have to be perfect, right? The content is still going to be amazing. Side note, how do you get pink eye as a 46-year-old? I don't even know. But we're just going to go with it. I'm sure it's the universe telling me something. I don't know what that is yet. So we're going to figure that out. So anyways, today's episode might be the most honest one that we have ever recorded because we're talking real numbers. And if you guys like this, I think this is something that we're going to do maybe quarterly to just like go through where we're at, because we do it behind the scenes. We also do it in our collective co-op. And I think it's important as a business owner that we're not just going through the highlight reel. So here we go. Our revenue is actually down 30% this year. And I knew that. I knew that this was going to be the trend probably in the spring. But if I'm being really honest, I knew last fall that this was probably going to happen. And so the part that I want you to hear, though, is our profit is actually up. And this is why having systems and routines and quarterly meetings and really paying attention to what you're doing is so, so, so important, because our drop in revenue was actually very intentional. The profit piece we were very aware of, but we made some really big strategic changes this year, the kind that I hope is going to impact our bottom line long term, but also some moves that were really intentional to protect my peace and our family priorities and really just the long game. And so I also think it's important to share that I always say time is more important than money. Yes, we want to make money. Yes, we want to be profitable. But for me, it really is time. I feel so much better when I have white space on my calendar, when I'm able to do, things that don't have anything to do with business. And also, we're in a really interesting season in our house. I'm in full perimenopause. My girls are in full preteen, and our house is just a lot of emotions. And we have a crazy schedule. They're into dance. They've got sports. They've got activities. They have homework. There's all kinds of girl stuff going on, big talks, social media that I don't want them to be on, but everyone else in the world seems to be on it, and friendships, and it's a whole thing. We could do a whole separate podcast on this. But the reason I'm sharing that is because I knew going into this year that I have to be healthy. I knew that I had to put the girls first. I knew it was going to be a really big transitional year. And so I went into it with, this is going to feel weird. This year is going to feel weird. We are going to overhaul a lot. And just for fun, the economy has decided to I don't even know what's happening, but it's interesting right now. And so I didn't obviously know that was going to happen, but it's been a year of transition and recalibration and really, really deep reflection. And so I wanted to share exactly what we've done behind the scenes, but some things that you can do to really start thinking about, like, what do you want your like long-term business model to look like? And what do you want to keep doing, right? If you listen to some of our older podcasts, the question that I asked myself that actually led to this business was, can I keep doing what I'm doing for the next 10 years? And I remember sitting in my car, like going to work, thinking, no, like I can't. Like I like to work, I want to work, and I want to like be somebody that makes a difference, but like that was not it. And so that's the question that I'm continually to challenge myself with. So this year, we intentionally, and the very first thing that you saw was Antisocial School that hit in March of 2025. We redid the whole program. I've talked about it a lot. It's our new signature program. We got it trademarked. It's evergreen. We lowered the price. You can join it any time that you want. There's systems behind the scenes. We added in a whole AI bot squad. Like it is like this like bright, shiny object in my world. I love it so much. I'm so proud of it, but it took a lot of time to do that. So we saw that in our revenue projections. Hopefully that will again change, and it's set up to work long term, but it took a minute to do that, right? The second thing that you saw was in May of 2025, we did not launch our collective co-op. So we've moved a collective co-op to only launch once a year, which hint, it is coming in November. And the reason being is it's a better experience for everyone. It recognizes seasons, which is what we preach. And we have business sprints inside the co-op that hold you accountable so that we can recognize seasons of summer and vacations and things like that. So we sprint and then we take breaks, and we sprint and then we take breaks. And I feel like that's what our audience needed. And I honestly just wanted to launch less this year. And so that's what that looked like. And then the last piece that you have seen is the Crush the Rush Club. So we really simplified our Crush the Rush Club launch calendar. When I first started the club, we did a free workshop every single month to get new members in. Now we do two things. In January, we did a Crush the Rush Club open house to just tell people about it and help, if it's a resource that you would like, great, it's there. And now we run a big yearly sale during holidays, which is in July. So the club is this like little engine that could. We average 7 to 10 members every month organically. It's all through emails and funnels. Our retention rate is 80% for a full year, which means most people come in for a full year. And what that means is most people stay a full year or longer. So most of our clients stay up to 3+ years. So it is like this, I don't know, it's like the OG community. I'm so proud of it. And I'm really proud that we haven't had to launch it every single month. So with that said, yes, our revenue is lower. It was very strategic, but the trade-off has been time, space, and sanity. And so for me, that honestly is the real win. But the part that I didn't expect is what would actually come out of this time. And so there are a few things that we've done behind the scenes. We've really leaned into tax strategy, which is something that, let's face it, no one wants to talk about, and it always gets like pushed down to the bottom of your list. But guess what? That's where we're seeing some of our profitable wins. I talked about this summer in episode 563 that we really leaned into, okay, like what are we doing to pay for things in our business? And we switched all of our business credit cards. And just as last month, we were able to buy a sauna with points, which amazing, right? I talked about that in episode 563 in terms of what cards we used. I'm not an affiliate. I should be. But it's been really cool to see like some of those wins come to life. Like these are not the fancy wins that you see on social media. Like these are like real life things that take a lot of time to figure out. And I didn't have that time before. And so it sounds funny, but to me, the sauna has been on my vision board for years, right? And I was like, what, like it's sitting right here. It's like sitting in front of me, but I had to like slow down to speed up to realize that that benefit was there. And so to me, it represents margin, and it represents the ability to slow down and to take care of myself and to think clearly what's next. The other thing that it's done is it's given me the, ability to brainstorm and think a little bit more. We've really leaned into SEO. You've probably seen some of that in the changes of our podcast title and our podcast covers. And we've really leaned into blogs and AI. And these are all things that I would not have time to do if I hadn't made these changes. And so to me, I'm really navigating the business world in a way that feels really good instead of, oh, I'm just going to do this for 5 minutes. I'm going to do something else for 5 minutes. And then I'm going to do something else for 5 minutes. Like our goal this year was to be really, really intentional. And so that's what honestly paying attention to profit and simplifications has given me. And it's the ability to make decisions from a very peaceful place and not pressure. And so I want to go into a little bit deeper into like how we got here. I told you what we did, which obviously I would love for you to think about your product suite and what that looks like for you and what you want it to look like long term, but also like, how do you even get to this place? You're like, that sounds great, Holly, but like, what does this actually mean? So my lesson number one is mindset. And that is my success is defined by me. It's not somebody else's Instagram reel or launch headline or fancy emails. And so it's really important to me that I can pay myself. We can go on vacation. I can put my girls on the bus. I can start my day at 10 o'clock because I did yogas and Pilates, and that's success, right? So it's not $1 million year, but it's my version of success, and leaning into that has felt really, really good. And, I'd be lying if there's times where I look at other businesses and I'm like, oh my God, like, why am I not at this place? Or like, look what she just did, or how are they doing that? But our goals are very different in this season because I don't want to launch every month and I don't want to post daily. In fact, we just switched our social strategy to post once a week. We do post our podcast because I feel like that's important for our guests because we have a pretty robust platform, but it's all reusable content. And I think I'm posting like maybe 3 times a month right now. That's not podcast content. And so I just needed a break from the noise, and that's okay, right? Things that also feel like a win to me are like journaling more and walking more. And this podcast is being recorded in October, which is amazing in Ohio. So watching the leaves change and letting myself actually enjoy the slower season of growth. And so I have to remind myself that success is defined by me. So your success is defined by you. It's not defined by me. It's not defined by someone else. It's defined by you. And that's something we actually do every month inside our planning party. So it's really important for you to just listen as I say that and say, your success is defined by you. And it looks different for everyone. Lesson number 2 is everyone talks about revenue, right? Oh my God, I had $1 million year. I brought in 1,200 figures this month, right? But very few people talk about profit margin, right? So to me, profit margin is the like health number of your business. So profit margin is the percentage of profit you keep after expenses. So you bring in $100, you pay $50 to host whatever you need to do, pay your team, whatever that looks like, you get to keep $50, right? So profit margin is total profit divided by total income. And ours for Q3 was 55%. That's really, really good. That tells me that we're running lean and we're spending intentionally and we're not chasing vanity metrics. So that's something that I think is worth celebrating. Now, if you're listening, you're like, wow, this got really deep really fast. Here's what I'll tell you. Most small businesses operate with a profit margin of 10 to 20%. So that means for every $100, you keep $10 to $20 after expenses. And this includes taxes and all of that. Like some of it you just can't help. Like it costs money to run a business. And I think that's a really important point to think about. So, I would say on average, if you Google it, it will say like a 15% margin is healthy and sustainable. Service-based businesses tend to have higher margins because the overhead is lower. So that's like 20 to 40%. Coaching, consulting, education businesses typically range from 25 to 50%. Product-based or retail is interesting because the cost of goods and inventory is so much higher. So that's like 5 to 15%. And then agencies and done-for-you providers are like 15 to 25% because they subcontract or manage multiple clients. If you're listening, you're like, oh my gosh, this is too much math. Here's what I want you to think about. What is the total profit that you brought in divided by your total income. Like, I want to know what your percentage is, because to me, that tells me that your business is running at a healthy, lean, intentional pace, right? So pay attention to that number is my second lesson. My third lesson is please ask for help. You cannot do this by yourself, and make sure that you're working with people that are in alignment with who you are and what you want to do. So we streamlined our team, and here's the biggest lesson learned that I've had. I love hiring other women business owners, and it could be a good trait or a bad trait, but I trust people so much. And sometimes that's helped me and sometimes that hasn't. But what I will say, every single person on our team is revenue producing, which means it is bringing in income, or it's an activity that's helping us bring in income for our business. And if it's not, there has to be a really, really good reason. And most of the time that reason is because it directly supports me, that then gives me free time. So, for example, I have team support for admin and client communication, which basically means certain emails I have other people responding to. Now, I will say, this is new for us. It took me a really long time to trust somebody with my inbox, and there are lots of rules around it. And so I don't take that lightly, but also I have a lot of trust and faith in the people that I have doing this. And we have lots and lots of structure around how this is done. But the goal is that I can show up for the strategy, I can show up for the calls with you, and I can show up for the creative work while the team is moving the needles. The needles doesn't make sense. Team is moving the needle, not me. But the goal is that I am needed less so that I can help you more. And outside of business, the same rules apply, right? Every successful person you see online has a support system. So it could be everything from a grandparent helping with childcare, to a spouse covering dinner duty, to a friend who steps in when things get crazy. And so I'll give you an example, real life example. Last week, I was going to a conference. My husband does real estate on the side. He's also a realtor, and he had an open house during the week, which is not something that typically happens. And so I had to ask one of the girls' friends' moms, and I was like, hey, I really need help. Like, I'm supposed to go to this conference. Scott has this open house. Like, can you take them to dance class? And it was an easy yes. And I hope it was an easy yes, because I would say yes too on the flip side. The bonus is she brought them home, got them Chick-fil-A, and even brought me dinner, which I was like, oh my God, thank you, thank you. And everyone was excited because we all got to do what we needed to do. We then celebrated with Chick-fil-A on the couch and watched the Great British Bake Off, and it was a really good day. So that is teamwork. Also, it's a community, right? It can be hiring somebody, but it can also just be asking for help. And so I think that is really, really important. Of who do you have on your team? What are they doing? Are they doing income producing activities? And if they aren't, are they saving you massive time? Because if they are not, you need to restructure what they're doing. And then the fourth lesson I have is streamline everything. So I went into this year with, I am going to learn AI, which I've talked about a lot, and I am going to simplify anything I possibly can. So I invested in team members to make our operations move smoother, run smoother. I invested in a mastermind because I always believe in being a part of a community. I feel like if you run a community, you should be part of one. I invested in AI because I want to learn it, and I think it's something that is really going to change the way we do business. It literally is changing every single day. And so here's where it gets super honest. Our expenses on average are anywhere from 5 to 10K a month. And most of that is me reinvesting into people, learning, and tools that buy my time back. And that's what the profit allows you to do, right? It gives you the freedom to reinvest, to breathe, and to build strategically, not reactively. So one of the best questions I saw from James Clear earlier this week was, if you could hire the best CEO in the world, what is one thing they would tell you to let go of? And I think this question really hit for me because I knew what it was going into this year. I knew exactly what we needed to do, but it's hard. And, running a business is hard, and hard decisions are hard. And So I just made a pact that this was a year that we were going to simplify a lot because, it's hard enough without it being even more complicated. So the honest truth is, yes, our revenue is down, but our profit is up. And our team and our processes and our programs have never felt more aligned because I took the time to slow down, to speed up. I very much know who's in my corner. I know what's worth my energy and what feels good. And I know we're building something that is really, really sustainable. And that makes me feel good inside, but it also makes me feel stronger as a teacher and a coach and a strategist because I feel like I've learned so much along the way. And that's exactly what I show you in our programs. I tell you what we're working on and what I've learned and how we're doing it. So if you're in transition too, let this be your permission slip. You can slow down and still succeed more. You can make less, but keep more. And you can build a business that supports your life and not run it. So if this is the kind of honest conversation that you crave, the strategy, the sustainability, the community that gets it, you're going to love what's next because our collective open house opens again in November. It's a very high touch strategy program for women who are ready to scale with support, not the hustle. And so we're opening a free open house. People call me crazy for doing it, but I love the model. And so you can come see how it works. You can learn from me, meet our team, meet the women inside. It's totally free. You can just go to hollymariehaynes.com/open house to grab your spot. And I believe this season that we're in, you don't need more information. You need a strategy. You need to know what's working now and you need the team to do it. And that's exactly what we give you. So this isn't about chasing your biggest year. It's about building the right one. And honestly, it feels really, really good.